Hey, Mike, how's it going today?
Good, Frank. Good to see you.
All right, welcome to Perspective Shift, people.
Welcome back.
Yeah, so how's your week?
It was good. It was good. Busy,
All right.
busy week.
All right.
But, you know, that's
Busy's
kind of
good,
day.
I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Enjoying it. How about yourself?
It was good. It was really good. Is that funny how we use the word busy to define? It's like, oh, it's busy. Yeah, it's busy. Yeah, it's a busy guy.
Well, see, it's still fun to be able to do the small talk of the day-to-day.
Well, yeah.
You know, just kind of
You would sound weird. You would sound weird if, like, well, my frequency level is at the...
That's what I mean. It's like, you know, hey, we understand this, you know, reality, this plane that we're in. Why not?
Yes, when
have the
when in Rome,
pleasantries, you know.
when in Rome, baby. That's what I say.
The exchange, it's all kind of part of this show.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't exclude anything. We just move in a direction.
Where are we going this week?
Let's see. You know, on the note of you saying busy week.
Yeah.
How about the idea of because I hear this a lot, and I say hear a lot. I've said it a lot. Like, hey, how's it going? I'm trying to get through the week. Trying to get through the week. Trying to get through the day.
I think everyone's guilty of that.
Yeah, so when you sit back, it's like, yeah, like, what are you trying to get through? Where do you think you're going? Like, where's this ultimate? I'm going to get through can't wait to the weekend.
Well, that's the thing, is we don't look at it from that perspective of where are you trying to go? Where do you have to be? These are all mental concepts, mental constructs that we're living within.
Yeah, that plays into the anxiety that we have, because if you're here and now, so to speak, and you're trying to get through the day, so trying to get work over, you're going to create anxiety, and even what it is you're doing, whatever craft or work you're doing, it's going to be deficient in the fact that you're trying to get through the day, thinking there's going to be some miracle. Then you get in your car and you got to get through the traffic. Then you get home, you have to get through the dinner with your wife.
Isn't that the truth, though?
Karen, I'm just joking. I got to stop that. But when you're trying to get through stuff, you're literally trying to race through it, and you're never present. But the beauty, the brilliance of presence is you don't want to ever leave it. Yes, someone's going to keep score of the time, and it's 5 o'clock, and it's time to then get in the car and go home, and then, I enjoy the drive home. And when you're present, you actually enjoy everything, and this is where moments come to you. But trying to get through is not acknowledging that you're only having one moment. The moment is now. You can think about the past, now. You can think about the future, now. But you're doing it now. And getting through it is a heightened sense of anxiety.
And, it's a kind of created no-win situation.
So it's like me and Mike are not saying you must become present. We're actually saying you are present. Just acknowledge that you're present. You know, because we've talked about that before, where often you hear like a lot of spiritual teachers, and they're all meaning well, and even I've said this before, that we ought to be doing something different than we're doing in order to get to this place in which we think we ought to be. And that's not really the truth. The truth is you already are exactly where you want to be, or want to, where you are is where you want to, existence. But if you actually understand that, it pulls your full energy into the now. It's like I have to meditate in order to calm. Like, no, you don't. You actually are meditating. You're in control of your calmness. Now, meditating is an experience. It's an act that you do. There's nothing wrong with it. But I think we're actually more enlightened than you think we are. It's just knowing that. And I was telling you about a study that was done, I don't know how long ago, but I read about the study, and I've heard it a couple of different places. So there must be some validity to this actual study, where they took a group of housekeepers that work in a hotel, and they were, everything from changing the beds, carrying the linens downstairs, vacuuming, washing the mirrors, all this work that's physical activity. And they took two groups. The one group, they actually told them this was actually considered to be physical exercise. So to benefit what we understand as health, when we say physical exercise, that helps the physiology of a body to be in a healthy state. The other group, they didn't say anything to. So they went about their day, and I might be getting this wrong, but after a couple of months, when they came to the group that they actually told them this was actual physical exercise, they in the group, I think they lost on average 15 pounds, and then even the vitals were like, even blood sugar was low, heart rate was at a steady pace. But the group that did the same exact work, because they didn't do anything different, they did the exact work, or just aware of their work being physical exercise opposed to just a mundane job, how some people look at their work. Well, the other group wasn't told anything. Well, nothing changed in their lives. So what is it? Is it the act of doing something, or is it a suggestion of the ability or the awareness of the act? And that's the truth. It's the awareness of it. So when anyone asks me, like, what do you do to stay healthy, or what do you do to this? I'm like, it's not what I do. It's how I feel or how I'm aware of what I do that creates everything. Yes, I'm going to do something. But it's how I feel about it where the actual results come. And even that feeling generates a frequency, and we don't really know where that comes from, so to speak. You know, it's kind of the understanding of how does God think? I'm like, I don't know. But we know how God laid out the physical world, and there's laws and principles that if you follow, they're always working. Just like with gravity, if I grab something and let go, it will always fall to the earth. I know that principle. Why does gravity exist? I don't know. I don't need to know. I understand the idea and the theoretical understanding to Einstein's theory on general relativity. But even Einstein doesn't know why gravity actually exists, opposed to what would it be like without gravity. Well, we wouldn't know in the physical plane. We've always had it. But you don't need to know where it came from or why it exists to understand how to work it. So the principles me and Mike are talking about and the laws we're talking about, if you actually understand and are aware of them, they work efficiently. If you're not, they work very inefficient. So just being aware that you're already exactly where you need to be in the present moment. You don't need to be any better. You don't need to gain anything. You don't need to learn more. But what happens is when you're aware of that, you do more experience. You have more experiences. You will experience more knowledge. It's just a natural byproduct of it.
It's also the paradox, you know?
Well, it is a paradox. That's where the power is.
Yeah. Like, in order for you to gain control, you must let go of the need to obtain control. Yeah. And these are the same concepts that Frank is discussing right now. We run this narrative in the back of the mind that's, you need to be doing more. You need to be doing this.
You sound like my dad.
Yeah.
Do more.
And this is something that's chugga, chugga, chugga in the background of the mind. And it's something so subtle that just like the refrigerator humming, that's plugged in, we don't recognize it. And then
now
when
I do.
Unplugged, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so when you can locate this head chatter, this behind the scenes narrative that's going on, and see it on its face, you begin to step into creation. You're at one with your experiences because you begin to enjoy what you're creating. You're playing in the play. You're a witness of the actor in this play that we're calling reality, that what we're calling life. In order to experience that, it's in the letting go of the how a situation must turn out in order for you to enjoy it. And it's actually more of a, no matter what way this turns out, I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah, and that's your perception. The thing I want to press upon, you hear a lot of people bring this up, especially when it comes to the monetary value of life, and we understand if we have more money, it grants us more freedom in this plane of physical world. So someone says, if you had all the money in the world, what would you do? So I'm going to press upon this question. If you knew you were exactly where you're supposed to be in any given moment, what would you do? And that's the truth. So like the money is, if you had all the money in the world, what would you do? And people are like, oh, I would do this, I would do that. If you knew you were exactly where you were supposed to be, what would you be doing? Or how would you be thinking? How would you be feeling is really the question that you ask yourself. People don't believe they're exactly where they're supposed to be, but they are. The world around us is trying to make us, oh, you ought to be here, you ought to be there. Let me draw you in here, let me draw you in there. And we call that the devil, so to speak. But we don't want to get rid of that. We spoke about this on other shows that we had. But those distractions are going to make me focus even greater. If I'm in a quiet room, I've said this before, it is so easy to fall asleep and meditate. But I want to learn how to meditate
on the subway in New York
City.
City.
Or even, at a rock concert, for the love of God. A Metallica rock. Air Supply's easy, but Metallica.
Truly, though.
Yeah. But can I meditate and transcend the noise and then actually get into it, or the sounds or whatever? That's how much control we have. You could be in that place in which we call the identification of the place and transcend it. So it's not about changing the rules or getting people to be quiet. It's about transcending. And you and I, like Mike and I were discussing earlier about the man-made rules and regulations, whether it's in the judicial system or in some sport. And often we play these games, like people are trying to get voted into the Senate to change the laws on this, or different people, lawyers, are trying to change the rules and regulations and stuff like that of how we prosecute and do all this stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's part of the game. But what essentially happens is the victim becomes the bully, and then the bully becomes the victim. Because whoever's in charge of making up the rules are going to do it in their favor, and there's always going to be someone in the opposite end, the opposite pole, that's not going to be favorable to. And we don't like that. We don't like to see injustice. And what's injustice? Well, for one, when man makes a law that you can break, it's not empirical law. And instinctively, all humans live by empirical law, whether they're conscious of it or not. I can go faster than 55, even though the law says I ought not to. But let's take the law that we were governed in on this planet. It's called gravity. Whether I'm a billionaire or living on the street, if I jump from a 10-story building, I will meet my demise. You cannot break that law. You can work within the law, but you can't break it in that facet. So these other man-made laws, we don't need to change. And listen to what I'm saying. You don't need to change them. You can transcend them. Because you can play in the field of changing them. And you can win and get to the part where you're the judge. But there's always going to be someone that has a problem with the law that man made. Always and forever. So people are trying to, what's equal justice? Well, when you talk about the field of equality when it pertains to the universe of God, he's talking about the empirical laws, not the man-made laws. So there's a mix-up there. And why there is injustice, because man made a law based on they were first in line, so therefore I'm first in line, this is what we're doing. And then someone steps on him and changes, goes back and forth. Over time, the laws have changed so many times that there's some laws that are still in the book that no one even recognizes anymore because they're outdated. But it's time we wake up and start transcending it. Now, you don't have to get rid of the law, but when you transcend it, you can't break it, nor will you be caught by it, and you cooperate with everyone around you. Like the great athlete doesn't worry if the referee or the judges are against them. They'll transcend, because when you transcend, like in the sport of boxing, it very well be the judges could be paid off. But if you knock the opponent out, I don't care how much money they got, you won the fight. That's transcending in this kind of metaphoric sense. So when you transcend, you're kind of playing the game to where there is no doubt.
It's a knowing.
You're not affected. And this is what I suggest people do, because what's part of a lot of the injustice in this world is because people pull us into the game. And who's selling the game? The media. And who are the media? Well, we are. So it's not like this separate entity. We're doing it. We're watching the box. Mm-hmm. It's like telling myself I hate myself and wonder why I feel bad at the end of the day. Well, I'm the one who was saying it. I'm speaking to myself in my head. And when the media comes in, I allow the media to come in. I can't even blame the media because I am the media. I'm the one replicating what the media is saying. I'm believing it. I'm buying into it.
That's the thing. We latch on to something that we hear.
Yeah.
And then it becomes imprinted into the subconscious mind.
Yeah.
And then it gets played on repeat, guys. And then we think that's us. So what Frank and I are talking about is we're talking about bringing the focus to you're not that chatter. You're not that narrative that's running around in the mind. When we talk about transcend, that's the awareness to the chatter, to the mind, to what's going on. And to transcend it is to understand, yes, there's rules in this game, but no matter what rules you put in place, no matter what obstacles you set forth, I will cross every obstacle. I will achieve it. I will move forward. This is that. This is why these concepts create and blossom into what people see as success. And this is why people from Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, to Tony Robbins have found this idea. They know how to get in there. These concepts are the same things both of these gentlemen are talking about. We're just talking on a much deeper level about them.
Yeah, you don't hear them trying to change the laws and regulations in mankind.
They're saying, actually, don't worry about it.
Yeah, because the only laws that they work by are the empirical laws of the universe, which you cannot break. But if you understand them, you work within it. And nor would you want to break them.
And what is an empirical law? What you are putting out, you will attract. Guys,
that's one of them. Yeah,
there is no amount of anxiety and hate and upset, sad, depression, whatever you want to call it, that we would perceive as negative, that you can hold on to that will ever give you 1 ounce of bliss.
Yeah.
You can't expect to feed the computer being the operating system, your mind, you can't feed it this, I look horrible, I'm never good enough, all this stuff, and expect you to be like, I feel great.
Yeah, if you're looking at the sun, you're going to see the sun.
Yes.
If you're looking at the moon, you're going to see the moon.
And so it's very much so just becoming aware of the mind. That's what Frank and I are talking about. We are talking about consciousness. That is...
Well, it's perception, because the other thing, I want to go even further. We actually all are, everyone is conscious. We are conscious. Mm-hmm. It's just that we get caught up in somebody else's perception. And it's an old, rundown perception. It's one that's worn out. So as we move forward and not get caught up in it.
Well, that's getting attached to the thinking mind. That takes us out of this moment.
Yes.
Which is just a natural free flow, like Frank and I talking right now.
Yeah.
Frank, when I speak and these words coming out of my mouth, they are not being thought about. They are free flowing. Same with Frank. And this is where conversation in day to day gets caught up. People try to think about what they're saying as they're saying it.
Yeah, I don't want to offend anybody.
Yeah, and then that's when you get these. You feel the insincerity. You can tell this isn't a good feeling. You feel off put about the situation. It's because they're thinking what they need to say for you to perceive it a certain way, rather than allowing the free flow of energy.
Yeah.
There's not one situation that we can get into and not allow ourselves to know how to move forward. There's not one thing this world can throw at us. Everything you're experiencing is a mere reflection of subconscious thoughts, experience, feeling, and
which is a frequency output in which you generated.
So what you're fearing, it's a false sense of fear. It's you're afraid of a thought that keeps playing in your mind, a thought that you can't shoo away like the flies that these thoughts are.
Well, you're actually, because fear is actually running away from a concept. Well, if you actually, what they say, face your fears. When you face a concept, it's no longer fearing it. It's like, what is fear? It's like you're running from something or somebody, and you end up running and falling off a cliff. And you didn't die from fear. You died from the lack of attention onto the thing you were supposed to move towards. Fear is a messenger. It simply tells you what it is you need to do for the next moment in your life in which you're generating energy to move towards. But not wanting to face it and running from it, it's always going to move towards you because you're asking for it. So you're actually evading the moment in which you're in by utilizing the word fear. But when you face it, it isn't fear, it's a messenger. And that's what we have to understand. So, but when you run from something, it won't catch up to you. There's a sense of anxiety which generates from fear. Fear is just running away from a messenger that you need to know. And once you hear it, you're like, oh, wasn't that bad. And if you face your fear, they're no longer fears. They're actually messengers. They're information that you need to move in the direction which you desired, and the universe is like your ultimate GPS. It will always and forever move you in the direction which you believe and want to go. But it's not going to force you to make the right-hand turn just because it says make a right-hand turn. You have to make the right-hand turn. And once you make the right-hand turn, the next bit of information is offered, and so on and so forth. So if I don't make a right-hand turn, well, that's fear. Why don't I don't want to face it. Why? But it's because we don't understand what it is. That's why. Now when we start to understand it, all of a sudden there is no fear other than situations, circumstances which I have to head towards to gather more information to move into the next movement in which it's going to generate the experience in which I asked for. That's the brilliance of it. So now you can eliminate fear altogether. There's always going to be obstacles, but I want those.
I look at fear as a collection of thought.
Yeah.
I do, and it allows me to move through that.
Well, fear is information that you're running from. So you have information that can help you, but you just didn't, people like, hey, I want to understand, what's this word mean? Well, open the dictionary, and the dictionary will tell you. Fear is not opening the dictionary to find out what you need to know, or you don't need to know, but it's something that will help you along the road in which you're heading on. So fear is just this space between the knowledge in which you ask for and getting to it.
The unknown.
The unknown. But fear is just moving away from the very thing that you asked for. But because, like you said, the unknown, you don't know what it looks like, feels like, or smells like. But why would you think the universe would give you something that would chop your head off? All right? So this is what we're talking about. And whatever energy field we are raising, so when I'm running from something and I run into the tree, I place that tree in front of me to run from, to prove that fear does not work, but moving towards the information. So when say you move, face your fear, you're actually facing the information that you asked for, but you don't know what it is until you open the gift, like on Christmas morning. You still don't know. You open up like, oh my God, it's brilliant. But can you imagine someone said, on the list, under the tree, you got all your gifts but one, and one of them's a bomb.
Morbid Christmas.
Yeah, so, and we're sold this, so all of a sudden it's like, no one's like, 10 years later, you got all this shit piled up because you're worried about the bomb, or you send your kid brother in there, hey.
Go check it out.
Put a helmet on. Why do I put a helmet? Just do me a favor, put a helmet on. And open my gifts for me.
But it's true.
Yeah. And that's what I really want to press upon it. We're not doing anything wrong other than thinking we're doing something wrong.
Say that again, because that's a very simple
We are not doing anything wrong other than thinking we're doing something wrong.
That is the truth.
All right? So it's often people will tell you, in order to get your life right, you must sit down and meditate and exercise and do this. There are nothing wrong with that. I do those things every day, but that is not making me a better person. That's giving me different experiences. So we talked about one law tonight, and that was the law of attraction. What you put out is what you get back. The second law, and we labeled these laws earlier, is the one is the all is one. The one is the all is the one. It's my English is a little mumbly today, but
A little New York.
A little New Yorkin', yeah. But to understand this law, this is a very interesting law, is we're all together and we're all separate at the same time. And I've used this analogy before, but there's one show here called Perspective Shift, and there's two hosts, me and Mike. But not only that, there is a multitude of viewers out there. We have millions of viewers. I'm projecting out into the future.
I like that.
That's my future self talking. And they're all having the same experience as Mike and I at the moment in which they listen to it, even if they're not doing it at the same date and time and clock time as we're actually having this conversation, because those are illusionary aspects. They're still experiencing it at the same time as they're listening. So, but it's one show, just like a band of 5 members, a guitar player, a drummer, a backup guitar, bass player, and singer. They're all 5 individuals in the band having individual experiences playing one song. Now, we understand that we're all separate, but all one unified field. You wouldn't fight against anybody. So understanding that concept, that will bring you into the law of attraction. Why would you attract hatred? Because the law doesn't care which way you go. You wouldn't. You would attract collaboration, and then the band gets bigger, and now you go from a 5-piece band to an orchestra, and if anyone ever heard Led Zeppelin played in orchestra, in a symphony, it's just amazing. It's not taken away from just the members on the stage, but everyone knows what I'm talking about. And as it expands into it, it becomes greater, not better. Greater. There's a difference. You got to separate the two. Better is thinking you're worse, and this is better. Greater is just a mathematical term to measure expansion. We're all expanding. I am greater than I was 20 years ago, And what do I attach the greater to? It's just I'm expanded. I know more.
And just like there's nowhere you need to be, and there's nothing that you are you should be working towards. The same concept, works this way. You are already there.
Yeah.
Guys.
And because you're already there, you only get more of the experience, because the 4th law is change is the only constant. And also it's tied into change is expansion, because that's what change is. It's expansion. So if you realize we're all connected, just like brothers and sisters, which we are, why would you fight against each other? And how you feel and think about everything, you'll attract into you, and that attraction will naturally expand. So those 3 laws, the first law is existence. So that's one that doesn't really need to be explained. If you exist now. It means you always have existed, and you always will existed in the understanding of linear time in which we look at it. And then you look at all those laws. They're so tightly wound into each other. Everything else are just principles and concepts beyond that field. But those 4 laws are what governs this universe. So if I love where I'm at, that is going to expand into the universe. So whatever it is I'm doing, I'm going to be doing more of it. So again, if I have $5, that $5 will turn to 10, then to 10,000, then to 10 million. It's a natural causation of expansion. We have nothing to do with it. So focusing on the abundance of $5 helps you get to the 10 million if that's what you desire. So whatever you desire, know it's expanding. But once you say, well, life is going, it's like hell in a handbag. Well, that's going to expand into that. And you will experience a feeling of that. And that, so be careful of these laws. When I say be careful of these laws, be cognitive of how these laws work. We're all one, so why would we fight against each other? Collaborate. It's a path of least resistance. And in that, whatever you set forth will expand. I'm like, wow, that was amazing. And then it keeps expanding, because the 4th law is the law of change that never changes. It's the only constant is change. We have nothing to do with that, other than we have the ability to perceive the new change as we move into it. And because change is constant, we're constantly moving to the unknown. That's what change is. People are like, oh, I don't like that change. I'm like, you've never been here to dislike it. What you don't like is your perception, because you're trying to grab an idea from the past, which is not change. It's just dragging it through the space and time. And you can't let go of your perception. But it's like you're going to have a tough time. You can't let go of the amount of oxygen you just deeply breathe in. Like, breathe in oxygen, do it really well, and try to hold on to that. See how long you can last. I think someone can go like 7 minutes. That's a long time, 7 minutes. Let go of it, and you could breathe for 70 years. Right?
Absolutely.
Or 107 years. But you can't hold your breath that long. But breathe in, let it go, come in, let it go. Expansion is constantly happening. So we understand expansion is constantly happening, and all we have to do is focus our thoughts or perception or contemplate in the direction in which we want to expand and allow everything to unfold. Just like when I put in the GPS the address of where I want to go. I don't give it direction. That's the GPS's job. It tells me how to get there.
One of my favorite quotes is, believe you have received it, and it shall be yours.
Yep.
Again, believe you have received it, and it shall be yours.
I thought you were going to say, I know you are, but what am I?
But so...
That's my favorite one.
So well put, so simple.
Yeah.
Everything else, guys, is your mind darting around saying, well, what about this and this? And it's running wild. Just allow yourself to be. Right now, kind of sit there, loosen up, let go in the shoulders, be conscious of your breath, and don't have a thought that must come in that you have to entertain.
Yeah.
Recognize them as the cloud passing by.
Yeah, and if you literally sit with yourself and say, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, just for that moment, notice how you feel. Notice the feeling goes through your body. It's a great feeling. But then the mind says, well, you don't buy into that, do you?
Exactly.
You got to get this done. You got to accomplish this. You got to get this degree.
Your kids aren't going to be able to. You aren't provide for your kids.
Yeah.
You're going to lose your house. What if you lose your car?
Yeah. And all of a sudden these thoughts come and you panic, so you put extra overtime into a job that you don't even like.
So what Frank and I are describing, guys, is the awareness that these thoughts are a subconscious operation. What we mean by operation is it repeats day in, day out.
Yeah.
And once you become aware of it,
yeah,
and you begin to kind of like a wheel spinning and you stick a stick in the spoke of, to stop it and slow it down. You need to start sticking a stick into the spoke of your mind.
Well, get the hell away from the spokes,
every day.
Period. It's
it's a process, because I remember going through this, and it's every day you're bringing awareness to, hey, that head chatter is not me, and then it gets less, and then it gets less every day.
Well, yeah, because we want to press upon. I keep trying to press upon these things. Is we have to trust that it works. Is what I'm getting at is there's power in paradox. We've said this before. When you actually know you're perfect where you are, you will accomplish and achieve a lot. It doesn't mean you're going to be stuck on the side of the road with a smile on your face for the rest of your life. No, you can't help to achieve. But the achievement isn't the first thing you look at. It's you go within and you generate a feeling of feeling good. And then the outside world presents to you the mixed bag of generating. You're like, wow, I didn't see that coming.
I love where you're going with this. And this is where a lot of people get hung up early on in the process is, well, I didn't create this. I didn't manifest this. I meditated today. Why would this happen to me? Guys, that's all mind. This is all mind. To think that a situation shouldn't be a situation because you did something, that's foolish. That's just it. That's on its face. It's something that we got to let go of. What we're getting at is it doesn't matter what situation presents it. You understand that the perspective, the light that you shine on it, because that's all we are. We're energy. We're light. The light we shine on this, whether that's a non-preferential or preferential light, that's how we're going to experience and see it. So I'll give you an example. Like at work. So I work in real estate. It's the type of thing where you can have a contract fall out of escrow, right? And at that point, the deal's done. Of course, nobody wants that to happen. So when a deal falls out of escrow, I welcome every situation.
Mike is like Superman. He wants Lex Luthor to come into the show.
I accept every situation as if I have chosen it. That is the best way to say it. And so when a situation like that happens, I have slowly trained the mind, and this is what I mean when it's a training. It's guys, it's sticking the spoke, you're sticking the spoke, and saying, "Hey, why is this an issue? What is this actually leading me to, or preventing a situation from happening that I never would want to imagine?" So, I guess what I mean is, I put a perspective, I shine a light on. Oh, I wonder what this now will lead to, in anticipation of something greater. In anticipation of something that I would like to see. I've changed the whole energy and dynamic of the situation rather than allowing it to crush me and be like, oh, now I put so much work into this deal, and it's been 26 days. I could have been out working, for other clients. Guys, that's all noise. That's the ego identity saying it ought to be this way. It should have been this way. Because it didn't happen the way I pictured it, it is not good. That is all stuff to let go of.
And now how can you picture something you've never experienced?
We all try to do it.
Yeah, and this is where we go wrong. We'll follow it. So again, everyone trusts at this point in life, because they've been around for a while, a GPS. So when you put the address in, do you question it? Do you stop and it says make a right, you don't make a right? You simply don't even think about it. You just respond and make a right. So if you're heading down, like Mike has said, and the contract falls apart, why would you question it?
Exactly.
You don't even need to make up a story. Why would you question it? Just go with it. Okay, this is interesting, Okay.
I like that you said that.
The universe is always moving in the direction in which we chose to want to move in. Now, this is where the phrase comes from, be careful what you wish for. But we have to look at that even closer, because the reason we came to planet Earth, and the way I see it, and this is the way I perceive it, is we came here to go into a field of obstacle courses and energy fields of intricacy. And things can come flying at us if we start going in a certain direction. We came to Earth just the same as a Navy SEAL joins the Navy SEALs. Out of all the armed force branches, why would you choose that? And it's simple. We want to know how dedicated we are to focus. This is why we came here. I want people throwing knives at me so I can slip. I want people trying to get me off my game so I can hone in on my game. All right? I want that. I want the level of noise to be louder so I can transcend above it.
I like that you said the instant acceptance. Of course, that's how it should be.
Yes.
Because this situation is spontaneous, and whatever occurs right now, I must allow it to be. So that is the level that this is a layered thing. So as I was working through my noise, my head chatter, I had to initially replace the head chatter with a preferential perspective, with a view that I want, a focus that a perception and focus that I am looking and moving towards. But in reality, that is the same thing as the negative picture. And that's what, Frank, this is, and I like that we go this deep because that's the level we're talking about. So like when Frank and I are telling you guys that the only way to find peace, the only way to find happiness is in the absence of thought. That is good thought or bad thought. And again, there is no such thing as good or bad. It is what our mind makes of it. And so when we're looking at these concepts, and when what Frank was just talking about was great, is how a situation happens, there's no need to create a bad or a good view on it. It just is.
Yeah, and that's
and you'll get to that level.
Yeah.
This is a process. You have to remove the negative, then you add some good, and then you start to see, wait, I'm still having the head chatter, but now it's about, positivity. And this is why we like to go a step past, these like public speakers and stuff, because what they're doing is they're teaching you how to create positive head chatter. They're trying to show you that the voice inside can be changed. And yes, that's great. At the end of the day, Frank and I want you to know that the true experience and realm and dimension that we want you to visit is in no thought, and realizing you can rest in no thought. You can move beyond what needs to be positive or negative.
Again, it's true. That's exactly right. So the thing is, when you listen to this and contemplate it, you feel good about it because every human being, again, experiences silence and stillness every single day. It might be for a brief moment. Everyone is experiencing good. It's just that we tend to focus on the 5% of bad that goes on, And if you focus on 5%, other than focus on the other 95%, that 5% seems like 100%. You see what I'm saying?
And that's the box we live in and we call life, which is paying taxes, buying a house, finding a partner, getting married, having a kid. No, but that's what we need to do in order to find happiness according to Western ideas, television, media, social media. We're living in this construct of ideas created by other flawed versions of the human mind. We're living out concepts. We're watching our projections play out in real time.
Yeah, and one of the principles, like the principle of polarity. So when you play in the field of the outside world and the game of human creation of laws and stuff, so I can have an argument. I'm really good at debating people on arguments and stuff like that, come up with information. But the problem is I can equally value the other side, and if I'm honest with myself, I can beat myself each time I go there. So every argument has an equal value, the opposite argument to it on the polar side. That's law. There's nothing you can do about that. So often people listen to people talk, and if someone's more eloquent and has more facts behind them that were made up based on moving towards it, because there's a lot of science that people doctored down, dictated down over the years, and then someone came along and dismissed it because it's no longer true.
It was proven wrong.
It was proven different.
Proven false, whatever you want to call it.
It was proven false. So we have a whole history of this. Now, I'm not saying don't do that, but so someone comes in eloquent, speaks with conviction, and has a lot of facts in it, and the other person doesn't have that. All of a sudden, like, oh, what they're saying is true. And then someone a year later comes back with different facts and other facts and has more eloquent, speaks louder, more confirmed. Like, oh my God. Because we live in a polarized, a law of polarity states that everything has its complete opposite. So when you start to think in positive terms, eventually the negative thinking will come in. But within the field of peace, you're right in the center. All right? Now in the center, you can look towards the positive, but you don't move from the center. You keep the balance. So I could be looking west and be right here. I don't need to move in relative to the earth in which I'm on. Or I can slowly turn around and look at east. Now I have choice. But if I'm doing 100 miles an hour west, it forces me not to look east. If I do, it'll be the end of me because we know it can happen. If I turn around, something runs out and get into an accident. And I'm just using as examples of metaphors in the physical world in which we live in. In the law of polarity, whatever's on that side has the equal opposite that side, and it can easily be transferred. But when you stay at that centered place in the poles, you then look to the direction, whatever direction you look in, you could perceive it to be good. Because it's all good, whether it's positive or negative. When you actually understand the field of electricity, a positive, negative, when it comes to science or electricity, the negative is where everything is born, not in the positive. The positive actually brings it to life, but everything is born at a negative pole in the polarity world. But people try to dismiss it. You can't. So everything is born. So when you look at both poles, they're all equal in their value, but they're both needed. Transcendence understands that. You don't dismiss the polarity. You actually understand how it works. So you would never take the negative side off a post in your battery, because if you did and just kept the positive on, the battery ain't going to work. All that energy comes up, boom, then the positive goes into the engine and makes it run.
And when you understand those concepts and that that next experience comes up, you appreciate it, and that's what Frank is
because it's
talking
unknown.
about.
That's why you appreciate it.
And that's what he's getting at. It's no matter what, if this is negative, this is positive, I know it's all part of the growth. It's all part of the expansion. And whatever way I'm focusing the light, it will expand. So this is why you can rest in knowing.
Yeah, when I say state, I'm not talking about a bland life at all. This is a very exciting life. But you're not...
And this life is much beyond what we're experiencing in this physical.
Yeah, these are just frequency outputs. So this table has a certain emits a frequency, a lower dense frequency. That's why it's dense. And then as we go into the air around us, it's moving. So there's a different frequency setting, but they all are all here in this unified field, in which we call like the matrix, or actually a holographic, to experience. So the physical body can hear, taste, smell, see, and touch. It can do all these 5 senses. Hopefully I named all 5, but it doesn't matter.
I always do that too.
Yeah. But yet there's something that's coming from beyond that, where the energy is actually coming for the output to happen. Just like a projector projecting a movie onto a screen. It's just an imprint of a negative coming across a light, moving at 24 frames per second, that's projecting onto the screen in which we're all staring. So all we're looking this way, where it's coming from that way. But you must look in the direction of the projection. So the outside world is where we're looking onto. But that's not where it came from. This isn't the causation. The causation, we can spend 1,000, 1,000,000 lifetimes trying to find the causation. Something tells me we won't, but maybe we will. But I don't need to understand where it came from. I just need to know what direction and what am I pointing the light on to project onto the outside world, in the physical world, to have the experience. And that's like, wow. All right? Now, there might be a time at a higher plane we'll understand the causations of things, because there's certain causations I understand. But at a deeper level, I don't know why it is when I let go of this mug, it falls to the ground. People, it's gravity. Well, why does gravity exist? Where did it come from? And we can go into that, but why? Why? We don't know. But I don't need to know not to let go of this unless I want to drop it. Just like these other laws and principles, if you understand them, you'll never have a shitty day. Yes, you'll break your foot, stub your toe, get a cold. Someone will break up with you. Just like someone says, I want to go on vacation, but I want to take my car, but I refuse to make right-hand turns. All right, you can get there. It'll be a long-ass road, but if you open up to making right-hand turns, stubbing your toe is what I say, you'll get there in a path of least resistance. But people are trying to avoid all these things that we find as fearful, and we never leave home, so to speak. And we get stuck in this mundane life. We really do. That's why I love watching these documentaries of people jumping out of helicopters with, on skis, and they start an avalanche and they're chasing it. I'm like, oh, wow, it's wow. That doesn't mean I want to do that, but it allows me to expand my identification, my field of energy into what I like to do and move in a direction. And once I think it's impossible to get to that level, I have to stop. Why do I say it's impossible? I think I have to know now how to get there. I've never been there to know how to get there. It's just ridiculous. That's what a GPS is for. If you knew how to get there, you wouldn't need the GPS. Well, a higher guidance system is our ultimate GPS. We trust the one in our car off the phone, but why aren't we trusting the one that was given to us by the universe? That's the question I ask myself every day. Why do I trust the GPS on my phone or in my car greater than the one that was given to me by the universe? Right? It's absurd. But because I bought into it and I have a program that someone says, oh, you can't trust, don't trust your gut, you can't trust your feeling, you just don't know, and people are trying to sell you out of it. But once you fully trust and have faith in it and move along with it, all of a sudden the chatter from the outside world saying you can't do this, can't do that, can't do this, can't do that, it dissipates. Why? Because no one's going to bother with you. Because once you transcend, they can't get to you. And if they transcend with you, they would never get to you because they know we're all one. We're going to unify. We're going to collaborate. We're going to connect. Like I said a couple of transmissions ago, when humans start to wake up and realize we're all connected,
that will be the greatest technology.
That will be the greatest technology. And the switch is on the wall, but no one's hitting the switch thinking that the electricity isn't working. And then all of a sudden a 5-year-old pushes on, the lights go on, and people have been sitting in the dark all their lives. Like, what happened? That kid didn't know enough not to put the switch. We got to flick the switch now. Change the perspective in the perception. Don't worry about what other people's perceptions are about this particular thing. You know? If people don't like the way the sun looks or describe the sun the same way you do, who cares? I marvel over people's description of the sun different than mine. I'm like, oh, I never looked at it that way. Wow. It doesn't mean I stop my path. It doesn't mean I don't keep expanding, because once I look at the sun and I have a perception, because of the fourth law, change is the only constant, my perception continues to expand. So I can't even hold on to that for the love of God. I can't. I have to let it go. But it's amazing as the world opens up to us.
There is nothing to hold on to.
No, it's an illusion.
It is.
Everything's moving, constant.
And so don't try to force anything. If something doesn't feel right, let it be. Yeah. Start to listen to the body.
Well, the book Power versus Force teaches us that.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is forcing something is like putting the cart in front of the horse and having the horse push it.
Well, this is why we wonder why situations don't work out, you know, when we're, trying so hard and stressing and, striving. And life is like the flow of water. The path of least resistance will always be the answer.
And the river will show you the path, just like the world will show you the path. And what things always work out. It's your perception that they don't work out is the problem. Because you think it ought to happen this way.
It ought to happen this way.
And we don't know. I don't have no idea.
And when you can rest comfortable knowing that it doesn't need to be a situation and you don't need to have all the answers. And that happiness only comes from within, right here. Just this moment, saying, I can be happy in this moment. Yeah. Yeah. Happiness isn't something that's obtained.
No.
It's something you always have.
Well, happiness is something you fall into when you're in the path of least resistance. It's a byproduct of that field. Kindness and love are generated out of that. You don't have to learn how to love. You don't have to learn how to be kind. You don't have to learn how to be happy. You're in that. When you're in the path of least resistance, path of most resistance, or out of the path of least resistance and banging up against stuff, that's frustration, anger, and eventually you break down and come into depression. And there's nothing wrong with that either.
No.
Because those fields teach you how to work into it. So distraction gets you there, and I look at distraction as the art of discovery. And what am I discovering? I'm still here. I can fall. No big deal. Because you imagine someone said, you're only allowed to fall up to the age of 2.5, and after that, if you fall, you're done. What happens is we become paralyzed. We don't walk. And this is how this is exactly what happens. People think if you fail, whatever that means, you're done, according to society. So what do? You don't do anything or move in the direction in which you prefer to move in, so you can't fail. So you didn't fail, but you didn't experience anything. What is failure? Failure is the digging in of the physical world in which we're in. There is no such thing as failure in the way we define it. It's just experiences that make me stronger in order to get up the mountain. So all of a sudden, I keep falling down, I keep falling down, I keep falling down. One time I'm going to get high at the mountain. Now I know how to fall just like a stuntman. And it actually provides something for me, which I didn't know. I didn't know I needed to learn how to fall. But the universe showed me how to fall. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, now this falling thing is working for me. So when you fell the first time, did you fail? Or you just misunderstand what was happening? Because you were judging it at the moment in which you fell. But then when I get to that sweet spot, I relinquish all judgment of everything I had over the period of time in which I call my life. And there was no failures, no regrets, but other than misunderstandings at the moment in which I was in at the time I was doing it. Now I'm like, wow. None of it was an accident. It's one big story. What movie would you ever watch and take one scene out when you've seen it to the end? It'd be absurd. It would change. You wouldn't even know what it would be. Would you take Lex Luthor out of Superman? Be a crazy-ass man flying around with tights on. What would that look like? We can handle this. This is why we came here. The Navy SEAL individual that joins the Navy SEALs knows they can handle it. And they want to do it in the subtlest way. They want to put themselves in so much friction, but they want to escape it in a subtle moment. That's why they do it. There is no other reason. This is why we came here. We came here to focus and do it subtle. And if you get distracted, who cares? You get up and run. You don't complain. Just do it. You don't stop. There is no stopping. There's always movement. Which way am I going to go? And if you know right now you're doing nothing wrong other than think you're doing something wrong and it makes you feel good, that's the truth. How you feel will tell you the truth. You know what guilt feels like, and you know what,
Your body's a tool. It is.
Yeah.
When you feel that a way
it's
that
an
you
indicator.
don't like, it's indicating.
Yeah.
You're thinking
Frustration is letting me know I'm
moving in the wrong direction.
And what is moving in the wrong direction? It's perceiving this thing as if I know what it should be. I'm giving it. I'm like, this is not supposed to happen. You don't know enough to know it's supposed to happen. A Navy SEAL goes out and does something, trying to achieve something. Goes out with 5 of their comrades, and they go out, and something goes wrong. Well, did they know something went wrong? They've never been there. But they respond. So at the end of it, nothing went wrong, so to speak. All right? And even if something did go wrong and they lost a member, the next time out, they hone it. They get better. This is how they, you look at the first Navy SEALs compared to Navy SEALs they're producing now, what they're doing, it's amazing. Just like I look at a gymnast from 1960s to the gymnasts that I'm watching now, this shows us expansion is a natural causation of the world we're living in. They're not better. They're just more. They're great. They're greater in expansion. Mm-hmm. And then it's going to continue. That's why I don't worry about the future of this human race. They're going to keep expanding. Someone's trying to sell us. Oh, my God, we got to do this. Well, when you bring attention to them, they get off on the fact that you're giving the attention to them, and they're attention seekers. And guess what? It never works out for attention seekers anyway.
Well, that's just they're stuck in the loop of the mind.
Yeah, they think if
I
have
do
more
this
people focused on me and stuff like that, then it will happen. But yes, in the law of polarity, you're going to get equal. Like, I love positive attention. I'm like, well, if you love positive attention, you better learn to love negative attention, because that's the law of polarity. You can't help it. So all celebrities know this. But the celebrities that learn to deal with it, they don't even marvel over the positive.
They see it for what it is.
They do. And they graciously thank you, and they say, I love your work. And then someone comes up, you suck. Thank you, just the same.
Truly.
Yeah, thank you, just the same.
And what Frank's talking about here, guys, is...
I have no idea what I'm talking about.
The pessimist thinks, the ship is always going to crash. The optimist always thinks the ship is just fine. Frank and I are talking about adjusting the sail. No matter what way, we're going to adjust.
Yeah, we're talking about becoming the alchemist. And what the alchemist does, it takes a base metal and turns it into gold, which we consider the highest metal.
Transcendent.
So I can take a negative energy. I don't run from it. I transcend it. I transform it.
I'm aware of that energy.
Yeah.
I just also am aware that I can bring attention, focus anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, guys. We live in this quantum universe where 1,000,000 miles away, exact same movement can be instantaneous.
Yeah.
And to think that we are confined to this body that we call self, that tastes, touches, hears, smells, etc., is so limited. We live in this expansive universe where we can look up and see the stars and know that there's billions of galaxies. And to think that what somebody said to you today about your outfit, or what that person made a comment about that you've been carrying for the last 2-3 years, maybe 20 years from high school, has any effect on your life.
It does if you allow it.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're not saying it doesn't exist, but it does if you allow it. We're saying why.
We're trying to put it into perspective.
Yeah, why are you allowing it?
Look at it. Look at the world you're in.
Yeah.
And look for when you begin to smile at the world will smile back at you.
Yeah, and as we start to understand and conceive and experience this transcendence we're talking about, there is no law that can harm you made by man. There isn't. But if you actually get caught into it, you then have to stay within the confines of law and stuff like that. We're talking about transcendent. And eventually, when you transcend a different level, and most humans get there, we won't need law. Because, most people I talk to, I talk about government. Oh, the government sucks, and we need to change this and stuff. And all of a sudden, I'm like, why are we still working in the field of government? And what I mean, I'm like, do you need someone governing you? And they're like, well, I don't. When they say I don't, they mean that other people do. And I'm like, maybe those other people think that you need government or governance. Someone need to govern you every day, like your parent did when you were a child. We were all aggravated as children because our parents would keep telling us what to do. When my dad showed me something, like how to throw a jab or a right hook, I loved that. But when he told me what I ought to be doing, it annoyed me because something told me that's not my path. But when I walked into the field of moving and learning how to throw a punch, and he simply showed me, I loved it. But imagine he told me, he's like, no, put that down. Let's grab a tennis racket and go play tennis. You must play tennis and do this, that. And that wasn't for me. All of a sudden, now you force me to something that I'm not really drawn to. I don't know why I'm not drawn to. I don't know why I'm drawn to this, but I am. Now you can instruct me in the field in which I'm going in. And that's encouragement. And that's what we're here for with each other. That's the connection we have. Encourage. Even if it's something I don't like. People are like, what should I do? I'm like, well, what do you like to do? Well, I like to do that. Well, if you focus on that, health will come to you. But we think health is going to the gym and eating carrot sticks on the weekend. I'm like, no. That may be in the circumference of it, but that is not the identification of health. That's the outward expression. I'm not saying they're not hand in hand. But me going to the gym and someone doing jigsaw puzzles are equal in their health. I cannot say I'm healthier than anybody else. It's absurd. If I see someone ill and sick, they can flip around and be as healthy as I can. Because we live in the world of polarity. We do. Like I think about like gravity's holding me down and stuff like that. Could I be, if I felt lighter, all of a sudden do I identify with this time being denser or sicker? No, I don't know enough to know that. I don't know. I don't know if getting a cold is bad or is it amplifying the physical body in which I'm in. In other words, I'm shifting altitude. When I shift altitude in the physical plane, there's always going to be a variance of overcoming something such as oxygen level. I'm going to feel disoriented. Anyone knows that when they detox their body, they go through a period of uncomfortableness. But if you understand that, you welcome the uncomfortableness. So the uncomfortableness of life is the expansion, it's breaking out of the shell. Like the lobster story you told.
It's true.
It seems violent.
Well, it's
like a
it's
birthing
just
of,
the fear of the unknown. It's the I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to feel stupid. I don't want to look stupid. And it's like you still push through.
The first experience you have on this planet is a very violent one. It's coming through the
birth canal.
The birth canal. You come in now. You come in like crushing through.
No, truly, it is a very tough beginning, and that's the pressure, the creation, the whole expansion of the positive and negative that Frank and I are talking about.
Yeah, and that's so when you understand the laws of polarity, you don't try to stay on one side of the seesaw because then there is no game to be played. You equally like the up and the down, and this is transcending the game. It doesn't mean you get out of the game. When you transcend any game, say it's sport, you just all of a sudden you stand out. And then all of a sudden, when other people start to level out and stand out, then you get to a higher place. And all these rules and regulations go to the wayside because they're not necessary. There's a lot of rules and regulations in games that we never hear about because no one's like within the field of actually doing that. So like, why is this law? Well, back in the day, it was common for someone to do this. Well, now they don't, So all of a sudden you'll see that. But as you transcend, but once humans try to slow the game down, this is kind of how they do it, and it's a distracting point. They slow the game down and try to make it more rules and regulations based on where they are. So can you imagine I became commissioner of basketball, and I said anyone over 6 foot must play on their knees, right? That's what I'm doing because I'm only 5'8", so I'm gonna be like, yeah, sons of bitches. Who's got you now, Michael Jordan? Right?
Geez, that's just like politics.
Yeah, you have to play on your knees, right? But that, that's why I'm never going to be commissioner of basketball. Because I would do that. But I don't want the power because this is what happens. So, but we laugh because it's absurd. I don't want them to get on my knees. I want the distraction of the height and to do that. But again, I feel if that was my movement of playing in there, I would probably be taller. Or, Spud Webb did a very good job at, I think he was 5'6".
Muggsy Bogues was shorter.
Yeah.
5'3".
There you
or
go.
5'2". 5'3" or 5'2".
I have no idea.
He was under 5'4".
Yeah.
I remember my brother was just talking about this the other day.
Yeah, and that wasn't Pee-wee. That was professional.
Yeah, that's professional basketball.
So, and the thing is, you don't expect that. So, because the perception which we have, you don't see that. It was probably what shocked the hell out of everyone. Who is this guy? He ran through the legs and shit. Where are you going? It's like,
but that's it. There is nothing outside of your reach.
Yeah.
Because it's just a mental obstacle.
Like, I don't look in the mirror and say, okay, I'm 5'8", my IQ is this. This is what I can do. This is what I did. Choose from 3. You got 3 things.
That's how standardized testing. That's how we like to track things. But as we all know, the world is not black and white.
That was like what Mr. Schneider said in 9th grade to me. Son of a bitch. You might want to think a little bit lower.
Here are your options.
Your options. He's like, what do you want to do when you get older? And I told him, and he's like, you might want to think a little bit lower.
Wait, did that really happen?
Oh, yeah. It was a true story.
So
I go
ridiculous.
in there. It was like,
What kind of person is
He was
that?
my guidance counselor. Well, he was programmed into the system. He wasn't being an asshole. But he literally looked at my transcript and based on my grades. And I really didn't try in school up to that point. I really just float by. I did what I had to do. And I went in there, and I'm like, I had to go down to meet the guidance counselor. It's the end of the year. Then from there, from 9th grade, we were going into high school. So it was the summer before high school. I'm just thinking about having the summer off. He comes down there, pulls out my transcript. He's like smoking a cigarette. Big burly dude, right? White hair, flat top. And he's looking at the transcript. He doesn't even look at me. He's like, so what do you want to do with your life? And I'm like, I have no idea. But there was a show I was watching at the time, and I think it was called Engine 54. I think I've told the story before, and it was about these 2 paramedics that worked in a firehouse. So I want to be a paramedic. He looks over his glasses that are hanging on his nose. He goes, and as he blows this smoke out, he goes, you might want to think a little bit lower. You don't have the grades for that.
What?
And because I was raised Catholic, and my dad forbid me to ever curse in front of anyone but my friends. Like, my dad's like, you want to use that language? Go speak to your friends that way. He would always say that. I didn't curse, but know what I said? I said, how about a guidance counselor? He calmly dropped the papers down and goes, that's going to get you nowhere in this world. And you know what? After that, something happened. I never let anyone speak to me like that again because it did bother me. It bothered me for about because I dropped things early. It bothered me for about a day and a half. It didn't bother me the whole summer. I forgot about it. But it bothered me, but it imprinted. So now I remember telling my friends later on, it's a funny story to me because the truth is, based on the value of output I was putting out and reading the transcript, the guy was 100% right. Like who? Like imagine I became a paramedic. How many people would have died? Jesus Christ! Like no, like you don't want me to be a paramedic saving you.
That's funny.
Yeah, you probably want me talking you off a ledge, but not coming to save you after you get in a car accident. I'm like, no, I don't know what to do. I have no idea. I'm gonna get a smoke. You know, I'm gonna get
no.
Yeah. So, and I just said that because I'm like, I didn't know this question was gonna be asked. She gave me a list of questions, so I could have been prepared. I'm like, what do you want to do with your life? I'm freaking in 9th grade, dude. I still don't know what I want to do with my life. I just want to feel good. And that wasn't an option. You know, it's just it was probably like 80.
That's the thing.
I think it was like 81, 82.
What do you want to do with your life? You know?
What do I want to do with my life?
That's ridiculous, guys. There is. It's funny. People are always like, what's my purpose?
I should have acted like Spicoli and really gave my answer.
Yeah, man.
Smoke weed, dude.
Well, you know what I mean? It's like to think that you have a purpose is, again, you using the mind to create an idea that you must live by.
Yeah,
there is no purpose.
Or the purpose is to feel good.
Oh.
And to experience the energy field in which we're in. So I'm not saying there isn't a purpose, but the purpose is simplistic or can be defined, but it can be felt.
The purpose is to be.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the purpose.
And whatever you focus on, you get response. That is the purpose. So
to be no matter what way, you know, this vibration takes you. And when I say vibration, I mean the world around you. Everything we're seeing and perceiving is a vibration.
Yeah, what is the purpose of life? It's to give it purpose.
I like that.
That's another way of saying it. Like, what's the meaning of life? To give it meaning. I heard Bashar say that one time. I thought it was brilliant. I'm like, that resonates. Because it opens up everyone. Well, the purpose of life is this. I'm like, well, there is the purpose. And guess what? Your purpose might shift in defining it, perspective-wise.
It just has a much better feeling to say.
Oh yeah,
their life is the purpose of life is to give it purpose, rather than there is no purpose of life. Here? You know, those carry two very different energies.
I'm like sucking up oxygen, wasting people's time, like my guidance counselor.
You know, and so you know what is right by how it feels.
Yes.
You know, and so when you get up and you say, "I just got to get through this day."
Yeah.
How are you starting your day? With the feeling that you must be somewhere else. That right now is not the most perfect moment that you could be experiencing. When in reality, there is no other moment outside of right now. Yeah. I could walk out that door and be shot in a drive-by shooting.
Why would you say that?
Nothing be... Well, you know what I mean? We live each day as
those are all perceptive things. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's... At the end of the day, guys, just be.
Yeah.
Just be. Allow yourself to relax, loosen up the shoulders, breathe in, exhale, and know that everything is happening exactly how it should be. And it's unfolding perfectly.
And when you're in a state of being, you actually see the car driving by with the guns hanging out. And you just simply stand behind a column. That's what we're talking about. It doesn't mean you're subject to being dismantled at any moment by the world. No. At a deeper level, we choose to leave. We really do. So when you're in that present state, you see everything around you. You see it coming. It doesn't blind you. So we're not like saying, okay, be nice now because you can walk outside and airplane could crash on your head.
No.
Because then people they're walking around like, what are you doing? I'm like, someone mentioned airplane. That's why I live in a no-fly zone.
That's why I specifically live in a no-fly zone. Yeah. Whatever you're looking for, whatever you believe, you will find.
Yeah, you will.
You know?
And that's the perspective.
Thanks for joining us tonight, guys.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
If you like what you heard, go ahead and hit the subscribe button below.
All right. Peace out.
We'll see you next week, guys.
All right.